Article 5, I think, is not in order here. Nobody's talking about Article 5. And the most important thing is that our adversaries have seen yesterday that NATO is so strong and so vigilant, and even more vigilant, if possible, since Saturday because of the situation, of course, in the Middle East. So they see and know and sense that our military are on this.
But just to follow up on that question of the risk that this conflict poses.
We support the president in taking out that capability, as the Americans were able to do, and they're working on that, as we know. But of course, there are always downsides in the sense that you have to be sure that you defend every inch of NATO territory, as we are doing.
I mean, do you see clear ideas of how this is meant to end and how you get to stability?
Well, clearly NATO is not itself involved here. NATO allies are providing key enabling support. What we see here is that NATO in that sense is also this power projection platform for the United States. Because without European allies, the US would have found it very difficult to launch this campaign against Iran. Because we see, you've heard the German Chancellor in the Oval Office and so many others making sure that the US can make use of these key enablers. But we are, other than that, not directly involved. So, but from my conversations with senior American military and political leaders, it's my absolute sense that they know what they are doing.
Can NATO do anything about that to make sure that Ukraine does not lose out on military support as a result of this conflict?
What I'm sensing and hearing from my conversations with many leaders in Europe, in the United States, Canada, is an approach where we say it has to be end-end. It is end, make sure that as allies we enable what the Americans are doing in the Middle East, in Iran, against Iran, and not Iran, I should say, but the regime, because this is not, I think, a fight with Iran or the Iranian people, it is with the regime. And at the same time, making sure that Ukraine has what it needs to stay strong in the fight now, but also hopefully past the peace deal to be as strong as possible going forward. Therefore, the fact that Ukraine is now exporting, making available to allies, friends, partners, its impressive knowledge, experience with drone and anti-drone technology is a case in point, because it will also make it possible for countries in the Middle East to, at a considerable lower cost, to take out some of the Iranian drones. Better to do that with anti-drone technology than with expensive interceptors. So
Russia and Iran have had a close relationship in recent years. Do you see Russia directly helping Iran in this conflict?
What we know is that Iran was one of the key supporters of the Russian war effort against Ukraine, totally unprovoked. This crazy war which started in 2014 and then the full-scale invasion in February 2022. But what we also see now is that Ukraine is already for some weeks being able to recapture territory which the Russians got their hands on before. So that is really good news. We know that the Ukrainians are posing extreme losses on the Russians month in, month out. Many times more than the Russians lost in Afghanistan in the 1980s. The numbers are staggeringly high. And now the Ukrainians are making their knowledge of drone technology and anti-drone technology available to the United States, to our friends and partners in the Middle East. So it is also Ukraine stepping up. And I'm not sure that Russia is very happy about that, and Russia will not be very happy about the fact that Iran will find it very difficult to keep on supporting Russia, as it is so busy now to handle from their side this campaign, and clearly unsuccessful, which is good news.
Right, but there is a finite amount of this stuff. It was already in short supply.
We are getting better and better when it comes to the production of ammunition. That has been sixfold now compared to only a couple of years ago. Also because we needed this, Ukraine needed it because of the war effort against Russia. But we have to replicate what we are doing with ammunition when it comes to the other big ticket items, and then figuring in the latest technologies, the latest insights. This is one of the reasons why we have this joint operation now in Poland, JTEC, where we capture as NATO and Ukraine together all the lessons from the war and implementing them as fast as possible in our own doctrines.
President Macron's speech on nuclear deterrence this week. What did you make of it?
Yes, I spoke with him on Sunday on the phone, and so before the speech, and I said that I really welcome what he is doing here. Because it is opening up a conversation within NATO, which we need to have in NATO to discuss how we can add this extra complexity, not for NATO, of course, but for the Russians. It will make it more complex for them to sense, understand exactly how they have to perceive our deterrence and defense. So it will add to our deterrence and defense in that sense. And I think that's very important. And I know that already 7 or 8 NATO allies have started conversations now with the French. We will continue to do that also as NATO. So I really welcome this. It is leveraging more what France is doing. However, and we all agree on this, the ultimate supreme guarantor of our way of life, the fact that we have free media, free press, that we have elections, that we have our way of life regained, so hard fought after the Second World War, is in the end the United States nuclear umbrella. And that is key.
Does this not muddy the waters in terms of who's really responsible for protecting Europe here?
I don't think so. No, I'm absolutely not afraid of that, because we know France already has a nuclear capability. The Brits have a nuclear capability. We have the United States as an ultimate guarantor. It's massive nuclear capability. And of course, in NATO, what we are good at is command and control, making sure that whenever somebody will be so crazy to attack us, as long as possible, of course, keep it conventional, but if necessary, also to make use of our nuclear capability.
But as you know, one of the reasons this initiative has been taken up and has been welcomed by others is also because there is nervousness about the United States, about its commitment to European defence.
Let me first of all say that from my conversation with the French, this has nothing to do with any worry about yes or no, the US, yes or no committed to NATO. And then to the more general point, I'm absolutely convinced the US is completely committed to NATO, not only because the US knows that there is a historic reason to be so much involved in European security, but also because NATO and the US, let's not forget, is over 50% of NATO economy.
Your approach to President Trump, because you have faced criticism for it. I mean, you've praised him for this attack on Iran, even though some NATO national leaders have made clear they oppose it.
We need it at 5%, but I would doubt it. Without President Trump, we would have reached it. We would have reached it. And then him now taking this decisive action to take out this capability of Iran to pose a threat as an exporter of terrorism and chaos to the Middle East, to Europe, to the world. I think if a president of a country is providing that type of leadership, some praise is warranted.